I'm going to ask the first question, and if anybody else has any questions, please use the raise your hand function. Kenny, just starting off, how's the team been preparing to face Minnesota this weekend?
Same way that we prepare every week, obviously making sure that we know what to expect, having played them before, looking at the patterns that they've had in that game, and then what their last couple of weeks have looked like player-wise, what their week of preparation potentially could look like, and then making sure that we're sharp.
Awesome, thank you for that. Again, just please use the raise your hand function if you have a question. We'll go to Carter Augustine first. Go ahead, Carter.
Hey, Coach, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you guys are in a great run of form here in the last four, and that's kind of coming off like a 3-game skid of sorts. I'm curious, what have you seen from your team in this period where it was a tough run, and now you followed it up and you're getting some really good results, and you're in a bit of good form. Like, what was that like as these young pros are developing to go through that tough bit of form and to see them come out and find some footing?
Yeah, it's a great question because I don't necessarily think in that 3-game losing streak that we weren't playing well. I actually thought of those games, they were probably the best, some of the best all-around games we've played up to that point. I think we had gotten results in games prior, and I look specifically back to when we were at Real Monarchs. That was not a great game for us. Now, we left with 3 points, but that was not a game that we left as a staff and as a team feeling confident that we had put our best performance on the field. So it's important that we look at it and we go, okay, we didn't get results, but we were playing much better than we had played previous weeks. It's tough as a coach and as a staff to explain to the boys that the points are disappointing, but the performances are something to build on. And that Tacoma game, to get a result, it proved the point that we were trying to make for the 3 previous weeks. So going through this little span where, again, I think we're playing well, there's still a lot of things that we can improve on. Being up 2 goals twice in Dallas, even though, the majority of people say, oh, okay, on the road, you get two out of 3 points. We felt disappointed in that result where we could have closed it out and gotten 3 points. So the standard of the group is continually improving and getting higher and higher. Their expectations of every game, especially the games that we play at home, are that they're surpassing anything that we could have ever thought about in preseason. So I'm extremely excited about where the boys mentally are and what their expectations are of every game.
Great. I think we'll go to Manuel Olivares from Area Sports Network next. Go ahead, Manuel.
Hey, Kenny. How's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. I know recently the last 2 games, the main highlight is LaFleur, coming in. But what other than the addition of LaFleur, how appreciative are you from the guys to, from the second half this season, not stepping up, but showing, putting points on the table? How do you feel on the team's reaction? Just a little bit piggyback on the last question.
Yeah, additions to the team bring competition to the group. But I think when you're building a team, everybody in Next Pro, I can't speak for everyone, but the majority of teams that I know and the staffs that I know, you had the opportunity to build a team. You could build it with the type of players you wanted, positionally, mentally, physically, tactically, technically. You could build these teams. And I think one of the strong suits for us, it was very important that we brought in a lot of strong leadership, but we also brought in guys that were hungry and could take competition. And I think what's happened is as we've added players, we've added a lot. We added Mikael, we've added first team guys come down. We've added LaFleur. Kyle Edwards got cleared. All of these things happened. And what it's done is it's pushed the level of training. And really, what the majority of people see is they see the game and they don't actually see the day-to-day work that goes into it. What has happened with the group, even when we went through those 3 games, is that the level of intensity and focus and drive has continued to grow throughout the season. And they're rewarded with points. So their reward at the end of the week for what they do on a daily basis is to get points and is to win games and is to compete. And honestly, we've made it very clear that sometimes points aren't something that we can control. There's a lot of factors out there, specifically the other team, that we can't really control when it comes to how many points we leave with. What we can focus on is ourselves, and we can focus on the willingness to compete in every game. Even back to the Tacoma game that we lost 4-1, it was the 80th minute, and we still felt as a group that we could get something out of that game, which I think is a big piece in the development of these guys to play in a league like this and then make the jump to the MLS, where the parity in the MLS is even smaller. Any given day, you can get beat by a team in the MLS, even on your best day. It's important that they're learning that now, that the most important thing for them to do on a weekend is to compete and to make sure that you're putting everything you have into that performance. So I'm just happy with the maturity of these young guys. It helps when we have a staff the way we have it, where even our athletic trainer and our head of sports science, our kit man, like everybody has the same mentality and everybody has the same work ethic, and it bleeds into the team, and we're all kind of on this journey together.
Thank you, Kenny.
Next we'll go to Christian Batallas from Dynamo Theory. Go ahead, Christian.
Hey, how's it going, Kenny?
Hey.
Hey, first question. Obviously the league has implemented a couple new rules. Just wondering if that affected at all the way that you guys planned for that match against Dallas last week.
Not really. I think the one rule that is making the biggest impact in the league is obviously a player having to be off 3 minutes if the athletic trainer comes on. We've planned for it. We've trained for it. We have an idea of not only if we go down a man, what the team adjustment looks like, but if we go up a man, what the team adjustment looks like. It hasn't impacted the game yet. The 2 times I think Brandy had to step on the field in Dallas, we were making substitutions anyway. But the prior game, Majib went down with a cramp, and he was on the field, but he was on the sideline, and the referee stopped playing, called Brandy on when he could have rolled off the field and then not have to sit the 3 minutes. And I felt bad for Majib, because the last thing you're thinking about when you're cramping, as we all know, is tactically, well, okay, where am I on the field? Should I get off the field? But it was a learning curve. It was a learning opportunity. The game does speed up, though, when you aren't allowed to just have the athletic trainer come on and then 2 minutes later the athletic trainer comes on. It does speed the game up, but it kind of takes that essence of, gamesmanship out of it. But I think, that's a focus of ours, to just understand when it does happen for or against us, what our adjustments are for that period of time. So, Talon was a good example, these kind of things where, we're trying to bring him off the field so he can get treated and then come back on. And then Talon was off longer because he needed to get his ankle taped. So it's something that I think it heightens the intelligence of the players, because they have to read the game a bit more, knowing that they're either up a man or down a man.
And then the last one for me, obviously the first team is playing Minnesota as well, as you guys are playing Minnesota too. Do you guys do any type of joint scouting when it comes to playing the same club on the same weekend? And do you guys see any similarities between the first team and MLS Next Pro teams as well, or differences?
Yeah, the scouting, obviously there's conversations. There's no detailed scouting, because just for instance, this matchup this weekend, there are some similarities, but not so much that you would be able to blend the scouts to really help either group or benefit either group. It is important that you understand, hey, there might be first team guys that come down. We might have first team guys that come down. So you do need to make sure that they understand what to expect. But the personnels of the team are a bit different. What we're seeing in this league is obviously a lot of teams are playing the same system. There's some of the same similarities, but there are some teams that are polar opposite to their first team, and it's based on the players that they have. So, there is discussion every day. Like I've said before, the connection we have with the first team is unbelievable. Our offices are so close together, and there's daily communication about players and movement and what to expect. I'm in the first team office a significant amount, just talking through what we're doing. Paulo's out of training. They finished before us. So he's come over and he watches training and he's talking to the guys. So there is that communication, but no direct scout that we would say, okay, we're going to present this to both groups.
And just a quick last one. You were talking about, sometimes the first team guys come down. How early do you know that maybe that's going to happen for you? Like that you're going to have some players available from the first team?
Yeah, it varies. And it varies, obviously, our goal, I think I talked about this a lot in the beginning of the season. Our goal is to make sure the first team gets results. And that's by either having first team players play with us or producing first team players like Beto that are going to go and play with them and help Paulo win. So it all varies on their schedule. And they've had a really dense month and a half. So it can be anywhere from 4 days to 24 hours. And it all just depends on a lot of the moving parts as far as player personnel, minutes, fatigue, injuries, all of these different things. And sometimes the player that comes down, it can be based on 4 different people along the row. So, you never know. But the one thing we are adaptable and we understand what our role is with the second team. And the players understand that. I spoke to the guys today and I just said, there's potential that some guys could come in. And everybody knows that that's part of being on the second team, that you're constantly competing for the spots that are available. Sometimes guys will move in that you didn't expect or you didn't know, and you could have had a great week of training. It's just part of being a young pro on a second team.
That's it for me. Thank you so much and have a good weekend or a good game.
I think we'll throw it back to Carter for one more question.
Yeah, thanks. Just kind of piggybacking on that, the Minnesota scouting for this weekend. I was looking at the stats. You guys are in the top 3 in the league in fouls drawn, fouls suffered, which obviously is always a good stat to be up there in. And they're up there in terms of fouls committed. Are you expecting a physical game? And I'm just curious, what does that say about your players that they're up there in the top 3 in that particular stat?
I'll be brutally honest with you, Carter. I didn't have any idea that stat existed. I mean, I knew it existed, but I didn't know where we were in that. I look at that in 2 different ways. A real big part of our game model and a real big part of our preparation and things is set pieces. That's no shot. I'm not divulging information that people don't know. I think we have 7 goals off set pieces halfway through the season, which is astonishing when you look at the goals that we set for set piece goals in the beginning. I think it speaks volumes about, how much we want to attack, what we ask of our players. But disrupting rhythm is a really important part of the game. So I wouldn't be surprised that, if we're not getting fouled to kind of disrupt our rhythm. I think the one thing that we've been very strong with, probably 6 or 7 games into the season to now, is our possession. But our possession with a purpose. So I think we've really improved how we keep the ball to create chances on goal. So sometimes coming from that area, you get fouled a significant amount more. But it just puts emphasis again on us and making sure that our attacking set pieces are dialed in and that we're using those as opportunities. Minnesota, yeah, it's going to be a physical game to answer your question. Absolutely. It was the last time. I think the one thing that Minnesota has, and there's a lot of teams like this, is they've got a really core group of very good players. Like even their younger players that they play, they seem experienced, and there's a fight to them. Part of also being a team that fouls a lot, it doesn't mean that they're just running around kicking people. It means they want to press you and they want to high press you. And that is always a statistic that, for me, you always look at a team that wants to high press you, and it's about them wanting to force you into mistakes. It's important. It's important to understand that. So I expect a very physical game. I hope it's really hot because we train in this. And I think that the guys have really turned Aviva into a place that's not fun to play. So I'm excited about this game. They're a great group. You don't look at their results and think, oh, their points and this is where they're on the standings. They're a team that can beat any team in this league. So, it's going to be a great battle.
Awesome answer, Coach. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. I think we'll wrap things up there. Thanks so much for your time.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Cheers.